Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ofentse Hanyana. I am from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. We are live and we will be discussing the X the Stress virtual challenge. We are joined by Gwen Hobson, and she will be doing an amazing challenge and journey in Morocco, and she'll be explaining more about that and how you guys can be part of what she's doing in mental health and supporting those with mental health challenges. It's going to be so exciting. So please stay on the live and also ask questions if you've got any questions, and we'll try our best to answer them for you. So thank you all so much. And just to give you a little bit of a background about Gwen. So Gwen is originally from Johannesburg, South Africa, where she completed her undergrad medical degree at the University of Witwatersrand. She spent 2007 with the Center of Aviation, Space and Extreme Environment Medicine at University College London, working as a research assistant at the Cordwell Extreme Everest Project, performing data collection to commence her specialist anesthesiology training. And she also was at the Everest Base Camp in London before returning to do her specialist anesthesiology training. And after completing her specialization at Wits, she set up her anesthetic training program in a very rural district area in South Africa before entering private practice in George. Gwen has special interests in regional anesthesia, that word always gets me a bit confused, ethics, the environment and wellness. She was awarded her MSc in the principles of regional anesthesia from the University of East Anglia with distinction. Gwen is the immediate past chair of the South African Society of Regional Anesthesiology, and she is currently a national council member of the South African Society of Anesthesiologists, where she is the convener of the Sustainability Committee. She also serves on the Sustainability Committee for the World Federation of Societies for Anesthesiologists. Gwen is a ultra-distance trail runner, and last but not least, she is a mother of two. Welcome, Gwen. Oh my word, you are so inspiring. That was a mouthful.
And so thank you so much for having me, and just thank you for all the support that you and SADAG have given me over the last few months. You've been absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you. And we're so excited with the journey that you're going on. We're excited at the office. I think that everyone is talking about Gwen at the office. When is Gwen starting? We want to hear about her virtual challenge, and now we get to launch it. So I just want to know, you'll be running 267 kilometers across the Sahara Desert in the Marathon des Sables. And for those who don't know what that is, can you tell us a little bit more about the race and what makes it such a big challenge, besides the fact that it's 267 kilometers?
Sure. So the Marathon des Sables is probably the granddaddy of ultra trail marathons. In fact, this year is the 40th edition of this race. And essentially it's a stage race. So we'll be running 267 kilometers across the Sahara Desert in southern Morocco over 6 stages over 7 days. So it's over 1 week. And each stage has a defined distance. The shortest stage will be the last day, which will be around 21 kilometers, so a half marathon. And the longest stage we're expecting to be stage 4, which will be 100 kilometers over 2 days. Or you could do it in one day and have a nice rest day on the second day. So in total, it'll be 267 kilometers. What makes this race so challenging, though, of course, in addition to the distance, is that it's self-supported. So other than a tent, which I will share with 7 other people for the duration of the week, and water, which the organizers supply us every 10 kilometers or so during the race, we have to carry everything else ourselves. So all our own food for 7 days, sleeping bag, clothes, emergency kit. So of course the backpack is quite heavy. The other thing that makes this race particularly challenging, of course, are the conditions. So the sandy terrain that we run on, if anyone's tried to run on the beach, you know that running on dry sand is quite challenging. And of course the heat, or should I rather say the temperatures. So daytime temperatures, I'm expecting to get anywhere up to 40 degrees. And nighttime temperatures could drop as low as 5 degrees. So there's huge temperature variation in a 24-hour period. And all of these things combine to making this a massive challenge for me, which I'm extremely excited for.
Oh my word. I'm like literally blown away. You've explained to me this before, but like hearing it again is actually so incredible, and really just the sacrifice that you're making just to elevate mental health and elevate the voices of those who can't speak up for themselves is just, like I said, absolutely inspiring. And I just want to know what inspired you to take on this race.
Well, when I was working at Everest Base Camp in my 20s, I had a colleague who had done this race probably in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he would.
Sorry, Gwen, can you hear me? Okay.
Am I
Usually
back?
the sound goes out when you're getting a call, but you're good. I can
There
hear
we
you
go.
now.
I'm coming back now. So this race has been on my horizon for the last 2 decades. And when last year I received an invitation to speak at a congress in Marrakesh, and when I found that congress finishes or starts 2 days after this race finishes, it just felt like the stars were aligning for me to go and do the Marathon des Sables this coming year. But once I managed to secure an entry, which is not always very easy to do, it felt like the occasion was much bigger than just me going to run a race in the desert. And it felt like it was an opportunity to run some sort of awareness campaign. So I did some introspection to think about why it is that I run. And I know that I run because it makes me feel better. If I don't run for a week, I become anxious, I feel down, I get very grumpy. And so I know that running is good for my own mental health. Now, I'm an anesthesiologist, and unfortunately, in my profession, we've lost too many good people to burnout, depression, anxiety, and sadly, suicide. And so I started thinking if I could raise awareness around the benefits of exercise for mental wellness in my own profession, possibly I could make a few people's lives a bit better. But as I started speaking to other people that aren't anesthesiologists, I realized that these are not challenges that are unique to my profession. These are challenges that affect a vast majority of people at some point during their lives. And so I started thinking that if I could just raise awareness around the simple act of doing a bit of exercise and the massive benefits that it has for mental health, maybe I could make a few more people's lives just a slight bit better. And that's where the idea of X the stress was born. So exercise to X the stress.
Oh, I love that. And thank you for sharing the backstory because, we take our mental health for granted, and just putting in the link between physical health and mental health, and how you working towards being physically healthy on a weekly basis, keeping that as your routine has really, really had an impact on your mental health. And I think that it's important that we encourage those who are watching right now that it's important that as much as you'll take care of your mental health, you take care of your physical health, and vice versa. Those two are intertwined, and having a routine of exercise, whether it's running, swimming, jump rope, whatever it is that you can do to move your body, will really alleviate your symptoms of anxiety or depression. It is proven, and so Gwen is a testament of what that truly means. So when you started the stress campaign, what is your aim? What do you want to achieve from this whole thing that you're doing?
So with X the Stress, the campaign has been running mainly on social medias, but also in some print media since October last year. And we know that October is Mental Health Month, which is why we launched then. And we've really tried to bring an offering of the scientific evidence, and there's a growing body of robust scientific evidence that suggests that exercise is at least as beneficial, if not more beneficial, as medications for certain mental health challenges, such as depression and anxiety. And over and above that, exercise has been shown to be fantastic for cognitive function. It delays the effects of aging on the brain. It's protective against various neurodegenerative disorders. And so there are massive benefits of exercise for our mental health. And so over the past 6 months or so on the campaign, we've looked at that scientific evidence. I've gone through various topics. So we've looked at associated topics, looking at mental health benefits of nutrition and the benefits of nutrition for exercise, looking at the benefits of rest for exercise and nutrition, and mental health rather. So looking at all these interconnections, and that how if we just take small steps, small incremental steps to looking after our exercise, nutrition, rest, how this all feeds and creates really, really big impact. So that's really been the thrust of X the Stress. And then we've spoken to various experts along the way, looking at how do people start? You know, it's one thing to say we should all exercise, and certainly I'm not saying that you need to go and run a crazy race through the desert in Morocco to get mental health benefits. But the idea is to just, whatever you can do to fit into your daily life will be better than nothing. And in fact, the research shows that if you take a step from nothing to something, that step has much bigger incremental benefits than taking a step from quite a lot to a lot. So the take-home message there is the most beneficial thing you can do is just to start. And starting will depend on where you are within your own person, particularly if you are battling with mental health challenges. You can't go and put yourself into a rigorous exercise routine where you're going to be training twice a day at the gym. It doesn't work like that. But if you can if you're dropping your kids off at school, just park a block away from the school and walk an extra block to take them into the school grounds. Or if you are taking a lunch break at work, don't sit at your desk, just walk to a park and go and sit and have your lunch at the park. And, it's just about putting My friend and biokineticist Anine van der Westhuizen likes to say that it's exercise snacks. You don't have to have an exercise banquet. You can just have little snacks through the day, and that also adds up. We also know that if you can do some of your exercise in a natural environment, that has even more benefit. So, just being outdoors, interacting with nature is also really good for our mental health. So, and then over and above that, if we can do it with friends, if you're a social person and if you feel like company, because sometimes we just want to be alone and that's okay. But there's also benefit in social exercising and using that as a time for social interaction. So instead of meeting your friend for coffee and cake, meet them for a walk and then possibly the coffee and cake afterwards as well.
Yes.
So, there are lots of ways of bringing exercise into our lives. And this has really been what the Extra Stress campaign has been trying to bring to the fore, is that exercise is probably the most accessible tool for self-regulation when it comes to mood, because exercise is accessible to everybody. It's free, it's safe, it doesn't have the side effects that some of the medications have that we may use for mental health challenges. And it's a really good first step. Of course, it's not going to be enough for everybody, but it's something that we can do to help ourselves, even for those people that have sadly no access to mental health services. And unfortunately, there's still too many of those in this country or across the world. But everybody has access to doing a little bit of exercise. So I think that's why it's incredibly valuable. And so that's why Extra Stress has tried to just raise this awareness and just make people think and hopefully just start the conversation and hopefully make people also aware of the fact that mental health issues are rife in our communities. And just because people around us look okay doesn't mean that they are okay. And I think it's important for people just to have that understanding, to reach out, to start the conversation, and to have maybe a mutually beneficial solution of inviting a friend that you think may be battling. Let's go for a walk together, and knowing that the walk itself is also offering some sort of assistance to that person who's struggling.
Oh, I love that. And I think you really just explained it so perfectly, that it's important that we have sort of a balanced life where we are looking after what we eat and we're looking after what we're consuming. It doesn't even have to be just food, like social media as well, and the environment that we put ourselves in, exercise, all of those things together combined have an effect on our mental health. And also, just for those who don't have access to mental health resources, really have the ability to make the decision to say, okay, I'm gonna take a 10-minute walk during my lunch break, just to get a few steps in and get away from my screen, get away from the work environment, to just refresh my brain, refresh my mind. So I really like that, and I feel like that's achievable steps for people who haven't even tried to exercise properly or have a physical exercise routine. So yeah, thank you for that. And then Gwen, I want to know, so as part of the campaign, there's also the Extra Stress Virtual Challenge. So can you explain to us how that works and how people can take part in your virtual challenge?
Sure. So the virtual challenge is now the final part of the campaign. And this is where I'm inviting people to join in the excitement of my journey to go and do my race. So I'll be running in the first week of April. But I'm inviting people to challenge themselves for the month of April to just move, whatever that looks like for you. So I'm certainly not saying you need to go and run 267 kilometers, but you have the opportunity by joining the challenge to challenge yourself to do some sort of movement. So you may say you're going to walk 1 kilometer 3 times a week. So then for the month of April, you will pledge to walk 12 kilometers for the month of April. And as you progress through your own challenge, your virtual beacon will be forwarded along the map that I'm running. So it will be as if you're running with me in the desert, running alongside me and giving me support, but it will be through your own challenge. And it doesn't even have to be running or walking. It could be swimming, cycling, rollerblading, surfing, whatever it is that will get you moving. So the idea of the challenge is threefold, really. I think probably the most important one is to develop a sense of community around exercise, and that people join in this bigger collective that is based on moving and based on exercise. The second one is for everybody to set their own challenge and to just use it as an opportunity to get into the habit of just moving, and moving for nothing else other than your own good, your own mental and physical health. And then thirdly, the virtual challenge is also designed to raise funds for SADAG and the amazing work that you do in the mental health space in South Africa. So all proceeds from the event will go to SADAG, and those proceeds are generated either through the sign-up fee for the virtual race, which is 250 Rand. And there's a little bit of merchandise that you can buy, so some tubular bandanas that are branded for the event. And there's a finisher's medal that you can purchase if you would like. And then, of course, there's an opportunity to add extra donations over and above that for those people that would like to donate to the amazing work that SADAG does. So I think it's going to be a really fun event. On the platform, you can choose to keep your progress private if you would like to, but you can also choose to make it available to the community. And I think it'll be quite fun to see how people are progressing through their challenge and to support each other in reaching the challenges. So that's, in a nutshell, that's the virtual event. People can sign up for it. I think your team will put in the comments box the website, but it's the Energy Lab running website that are hosting the event for us. So people can go onto that website, click on X the Stress, and then it'll walk you through the registration. So it would be fantastic if we can get as many people as possible to join in this event.
Absolutely. And we actually have people in the comments. We have Imani Psychosocial who said we will be joining the challenge. Thank you so much, Imani. That's so exciting. Please encourage your friends and family to join the challenge. We really just want to get this all over South Africa. It's a national challenge. So thank you so much for that. And thank you, Gwen. I'm very excited. I don't exercise myself, but this is going to definitely push me to start exercising. We're going to get people all over the office, our support group leaders, our counselors, to join in on your challenge and move with a purpose. So thank you for that. I think that you did mention this earlier, why do you think movement and exercise play an important role in supporting mental health? But maybe for those who missed the first part of the live, can you share a little bit about why you think movement and exercise play an important part for mental health?
Sure. I think from the start, yes, this is a personal shared experience of mine, but I think it's important to note that there's a growing body of robust scientific evidence that exercise is good for our mental health. And I think that there are several mechanisms that exercise does this. We know that exercise, as I said earlier, exercise is really protective in terms of neurodegenerative diseases. It is protective against the aging effects on the brain, and it's protective against symptoms like depression, anxiety. And the way it does this, there's several different ways. There's a very physiological explanation for this. So when we exercise, there's increased blood to our brain, and that increased blood allows the cells that create the happy neurotransmitters to be produced. So there we're talking about things like serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, endorphins, all those feel-good chemicals. And, we hear about the runner's high, but you don't need to go and run a marathon to get those. Even just 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise will make you feel good, make you feel happy. And that's because of those neurotransmitters that are essentially doing what our antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication does, but our body's doing it all itself because of the exercise. It also then, over and above the neurotransmitters, it also increases growth of our brain cells, growth of the neurons, so through neurogenesis. And exercise increases the ability of our brain to change and take on new functions and grow through a process of neuroplasticity. And because of those two, because of the neuroplasticity and the neurogenesis, if people exercise into their old age, exercise actually prevents the loss of brain volume. The loss, we call it brain atrophy. And so in that way, it staves off some of the effects of aging on the brain. So we can stay younger in our brains just by exercising. And it's definitely not the sort of race that I'm going to do that you have to go and do. Literally just 30 minutes, 3 times a week of just walking, moderate exercise, whatever makes you feel good, will be good enough to do that. Plus add in, as I say, some of the natural environment where your brain's having all sorts of different stimulation coming in. It's really fantastic for our brains from that point of view. So those are the main physiological benefits of exercise. But of course, there's psychological benefits as well. And here, exercise is a very good way of self-regulation of mood. So as I say to you, if I don't run for a week, I get really grumpy. And then I say, I haven't run for a week. I need to go for a run. I go for a run and I feel better. And so what that's doing is that it's empowering me to be in control of my own mood and to be in control of my own mental health, which is enormously important. The other thing that exercise does is that it improves our resilience. So, and there've been amazing studies done on this, that if you go and you expose yourself to a little bit of physical hardship, so that may be walking up a hill, it may be exercising in heat, it may be exercising in the rain, whatever it is, makes you a little bit uncomfortable. If you've exposed yourself to those sort of discomforts, your body has a much lower sympathetic outflowing when you are exposed to another stressor. So when I say sympathetic, that's our body going into fight or flight mode and putting all those stress hormones out. If we've had a previous exposure to any sort of discomfort or hardship that we've been in control of, so we've voluntarily gone to run up a hill in the rain, if I have any other stressor, and that may be a physical stressor, such as maybe I am very hot, but it can also be an emotional stressor, my body will then be put out all those stress hormones at a much lower level than had I never been exposed to any sort of stress before. So it's kind of like desensitizing us a little bit to external stresses. And that's one of the reasons that exercise is so good for us. So we go and willingly expose ourselves to a little bit of hardship, and that makes us much more resilient in all aspects of our life going forwards. Of course, there are also the social aspects of exercising. So people may choose to go and exercise in a group. And so all of a sudden you have this excuse for regular social interaction. Doing an activity where you don't particularly have to know of anything clever to say or speak about, you don't feel under pressure that you have to talk about current affairs. You can actually just go and run together and just be together. And I think that's why exercise is such a non-threatening way of social interaction. Of course, some people also like to exercise with animals. I like to exercise with my dog. And we know that animal-assisted therapy is a really emerging part of psychology, where we're realizing that just interaction with animals can also be fundamentally so good for our mental health. So exercise also brings that aspect in. So we've got the physiological aspects, we've got the psychological aspects. And then I think the last aspect that's really important to say is just to reiterate that this is so accessible to everybody. Exercise is free. You don't have to buy fancy running shoes. You don't have to get a 300,000 Rand bike. You don't have to pay gym membership. Everybody has some sort of access to exercise that they like to do. And so it's a really accessible way of helping yourself in mental health.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for those examples, Gwen, because when you think about exercise, for a lot of people, it seems like such a daunting task. But when you put it in a way where it feels a little bit more accessible, like going with a group of friends or doing a little walk or a run with your pet, it feels like, okay, I actually can do this. But you also mentioned earlier about hardship. And training your mind to do exercise through hardship. So, what has kept you motivated during training and some of the difficult moments in your lead up to the race in April?
So I think there have been difficult moments, and I anticipate that there will be difficult moments going into the race. But I think it's been really important for me to focus on why I am doing this. And my first why is that this is for me, that this is building resilience for myself. And so it means that the harder it gets, the more benefit I'm getting from it, because it's creating more resilience. And so the harder it gets, I celebrate the hardness more because I'm achieving my goal of resilience even better by the harder it gets. I think my other personal goal, the other why that I'm doing this, is to set an example for my children, that once you choose a challenge, you set your mind to it, and you complete it to the best of your ability. And I've had in previous races that I've done where it's dark and I'm alone, and it's really hard to put one foot in front of the other. For me, my thoughts go to my children and think about how proud they will be of me when I finish the race. And then it becomes really important for me to finish, because it's no longer just for me, it's for the people that I love as well. So I think with any challenge, it's really helpful to define in your own mind why you're doing it before it gets tough. Once it gets tough, it's too late to now start looking for your whys, because your brain's shouting with everything it can that you should just quit. But if you've got your whys very firmly in your mind, and it goes for anything, not just for exercise. If we're going through a tough time at work, it's helpful to know, why are we sticking with this job? Well, maybe it's so that I can earn money to put food on the table for my kids. Well, that's a really good why. Okay. So I think it's helpful to just have your whys all thought out before things get really tough. And then the last thing that helps me when things are getting tough is to just consciously switch into a patience mode. To know that if I just put one foot in front of the other, eventually I'll get there. And it's not going to be fast. It's not going to be soon, but that doesn't matter, because I know with every step I take, I'm one step closer to getting to my goal. And so I just need to then calm myself down, don't panic, and just stick at it. And every time, you eventually get to your goal.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. The big why. Maybe the people who are watching this live should do a little bit of some introspection around their big why, not just for exercise, but for anything. And when you are joining us on this challenge, give yourself the patience and the grace to be able to do whatever it is that you can do, even if it's a little 10-minute walk, like Gwen mentioned earlier during your lunch break. But really, we thank you all so much for joining us. Gwen, finally, just last question, how can people follow your journey and support the Extra Stress campaign?
So Extra Stress will still be running on social medias up until when I go into the desert. So that's on Instagram, it's at x_the_stress. Facebook is at x_the_stress. LinkedIn at Gwen Hobson, and the YouTube channel is at x_the_stress, all one word. Once I go into the desert, I'm not going to have any cell phone reception, which I'm really looking forward to, to just be unplugged for a week. But before I go offline, I will give the links. The race organizers will have live tracking, so each day you'll be able to see where I've run, where I've got to. And if possible, I'm going to ask somebody to just take photos from the official Instagram account and repost them on the Extra Stress account, so people will be able to see what's happening in the desert. But the campaign doesn't end there. When I get back out of the desert, I'm planning a 2-week period of reflections and wrapping up the campaign after the race and after having that amazing experience that I'm anticipating. So people are welcome to follow on socials. Of course, I would love it if as many people as possible join up with the virtual campaign, which, as I said, they can go to energylabrunning.com and join in there. And that will also keep people up to date with where we are and what's happening.
Oh, thank you so much. So you guys heard it straight from Gwen. Please make sure that you follow her on all her social media platforms. You'll also find some of her posts on our social media platforms, and you can head over to her page, follow her, like, share, comment. We really, really want you to be part of this, part of the journey, part of doing what you can to support SADAG. Thank you so much, Gwen, for all of the work that you're doing to support our helplines and to support our cause. And to anyone who is watching this and something came up for you that you're really struggling with, please know that you can call SADAG. We are available 24/7 on our telephone helplines. It is toll-free. You can find us on 0800 567 567. Gwen, do you have any last words for those who are watching?
Well, Ofentse, I'd just like to thank you for having me, for organizing this. Thank you to everybody who's clocked in the middle of the day to just come and share in the conversation. I really hope that everybody will want to join in the challenge. And there's no such thing as a walk that's too small or amount of exercise that's too small. It's not about comparisons. This is about starting your own journey and taking control of your own mental and physical health, and just doing that as a collective and celebrating the fact that we have this amazing ability to choose to go and do a little bit of exercise to help. And finally, I would just like to say an amazing, huge thank you to SADAG in general. You do the most amazing work and you touch so many lives in our country. And it's an absolute honor to be involved and to contribute my very little bit to try and support the work that you're doing. So thank you very much. I'm really very grateful to be collaborating with you, and please continue the amazing work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much, Gwen. Oh, you really touched my heartstrings. We appreciate you. And like we said, thank you all for joining us. And we all hope that you have an amazing week and take care of yourself. And we will see you on the challenge in April. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Cheers.